Oh, good morning. I might have to turn myself on. I'm not sure if I'm going to have anybody to talk to. Morning, Chuck, or not Chuck. Good morning, Ian. Good morning, Francisco. Good to see you both. Ian, I hate to hear that you're slacking on homework today because there's going to be a pop quiz right at the beginning of the show. So, how you think you're going to do on that? I feel like I'm zoomed in and I don't know why. Maybe because I'm just looking at myself on the screen and I look bigger. What do you think, Ian? You think that's it? No, look any different to you? Do you want to? Do you get the meaning there, Ian? Do you know what CU is? Oh, okay. What are you trying to do? And I don't have any money or anything. If you're looking for, to maybe be attached to my will or something like that, I don't. But I appreciate it though. I'm not sure Regal's. I'm not sure I've ever been described as Regal before. I've been called a lot of things, but not sure that's it. One of them. Oh, I tell you what, I might be wiggling a lot today. My hips hurting today. It woke me up in the middle of the night, and now it's starting to hurt again. I may have to take some Tylenol here in a little bit. So how's Ian? What's Ian into today, or uh, anything special? I'm not sure if I'm going to have any company today. I have not heard a word from my brother Mark. I guess I should have called him. In fact, let me take a quick look and make sure I don't have an email. I'm not seeing any. Just working away. Okay, I don't see anything. Let me. There is another place to look. Hang on a minute. He might message me here. Nothing there. All right, let me check my phone. I don't think I've got anything here either. Nothing there. Morning, Dave. Howdy, Mouseketeers. Well, I appreciate you dropping by, Dave. Thanks a lot. Come back if you can stuck. Come back if you get time. We'll be here for a while. Could be a light crowd today. I know at least 3 of our regulars that won't be here, and I've got a bad feeling about my co-host. Tina and Chuck are in Walt Disney World, I believe. At least I know they're in Florida. I think I saw a thing in our Instagram chat room. I believe they said they were going to Disney Springs today, or as I call it, Disney Village Marketplace. And Carol won't be with us because she's going off to have coffee today with a friend who's getting ready to leave on vacation. So she won't be with us. So they could just be Ian, me and you, Ian. And my wife hasn't even shown up yet. That may be a bad sign. Okay, what do you mean by sports ball? You mean football or that kind of sports, or is that work related? Best I can tell, Tennessee doesn't play today. I thought they did because I thought they'd already had a weekend off, but I don't see a game. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, it looks like they don't play again till next week. And they play New Mexico State. And then they play Florida. And then they play Vanderbilt. And we got beat by Oklahoma last week. So we're out of the running now for just probably anything short of a bowl game. That's we barely lost to Oklahoma. We barely lost to Alabama. And who else did we barely lost to Georgia. So all big teams, but nonetheless, we were that close to winning all of them. Soccer. Yeah, next week looks like it. That seems like they've been. I swear it seems like they've had 2 bye games this year, and I didn't think that, or bye weekends, bye weekends. I didn't think they normally had 2 weekends off a year. I don't know. They probably need it. We need to win out just because, but. And we can. Florida's maybe tough, and they always play Tennessee hard. But Vanderbilt, man, we never know about Vanderbilt, but this year Vanderbilt's got a pretty good team. So they'll be tough. Who else did I say? Vanderbilt? Oh, New Mexico State. I bet that's homecoming. Hey, Doug, good morning. Doug's been busy this morning because I've seen him in a couple places. Might be a light crowd today, Doug. Got people off on vacation. Got some people some friends in Florida. Tina and Chuck are in Florida, the McNeils, I think, because I saw they were going to be at Disney Springs today, or they were headed that way earlier. I'm not sure about Mark because I've not heard anything yet. I need to try to send him a note. Let me see, try to see. I never know about his phone. His phone works sometimes, and sometimes, well, he's got a new phone, but his carrier's not always. How about you, Ian? What's phone service like where you're at in Colorado? I'm gonna bet I'm betting he's not. He may be sick or something. I've not heard anything from him all week. I meant to call him yesterday. Got busy and forgot before it was too late. And he probably can't see with his new. He's having a hard time with that. And you say that, and it's kind of funny, but it's that does seem to be a problem. Down there's not bad. Spotty and spots on the plains or mountains are dead. I've not studied the geography around your area, so I'm not sure how. Are you're on the edge of the plains, aren't you? Western edge. Mark's problem isn't so much the geography. Well, yeah, I'm sure that does play into it, but it's the carriers that he has to deal with. Or at least that's seems to be the case. At least that's how he explains it. Now, I've not studied it in detail, but he seems to think it's got to do with the local carrier. I guess the main carrier in that part of the country is Union Telephone, and so anybody else that's out there telephone wise shares their towers or um, and his phone. I believe his phone is a Verizon service only because he and his daughter share a phone, and that's what she needed because where she lived in El Paso, I think. Anyway, so his is different. Everybody, all the rest of the family are union, have union cell service, and he has something else, and I don't know. It seems to have something to do with it. But I tell you what, if it rains or the weather's bad and his old phone, I'd lose him every time. I mean, it just bad, rainstorm came up or if it suddenly started doing something like rain, he'd just disappear. And I might not hear from him for a couple of days. I have a story about his back to his glasses mint there, I have a story to tell about that. His mom used to tell this. I guess you can almost say she used to tell on herself, but I don't know what grade he was in school, but I guess his teachers contacted his mom one day, and she said, she said, I don't know if you've had Mark's eyes tested lately, but I think he might need glasses. He seems to be having a hard time reading what's on the chalkboard, what she was putting up on the board. So, and I think he started reading at a really young age. Well, young to me. And so they went and had him checked. Sure enough, he did. He needed glasses. And and I don't guess he'd ever had any. So I guess that was his first real eye exam. And I'm talking 5, 6, 7 years old, something like that. Maybe kindergarten even. But I think it was early elementary. So she got him glasses, and he was like, suddenly he could see, and she felt so bad she let him take the day off at school, and he disappeared. He just put his glass. He was off in the woods all day long, wandering around, looking at things, finding things, stuff he hadn't ever seen. She said she felt so bad about that. Oh, he's not going to be here. He says he's violently ill. Well, that means I have to change speeds today. I might not do the show I was going to do, depending on what part of metro area you're in. You can be next to plains or in the foothills. Yeah, I sent him a note. Told him I hope he gets well soon. I hadn't heard from him in several days, and I should have checked on him sooner. I'm thinking he's probably been sick a few days. I may call his wife later and just check on him. Well, hang on. I thought I just saw something else. Oh, today is oh, that's hilarious. Today's our youngest daughter is having a show today. There's a Renaissance fair festival going on not too far from here, and she had I don't know how that you get into shows like this now, but um, apparently she had applied to get in or requested, to be able to be invited. I don't know ever how that works. Anyway, she put her name in the hat and she did get selected. So she's setting up today, and hopefully it's going to be a good day she'll have a good day. She's got a lot of that's for her artwork, and they were setting up early this morning. We had a little rainstorm last night, so I'm a little bit worried about it being muddy or being wet because it's out in the field, a big area, several acres. I don't know exactly how much stuff they're going to have, but they're going to do jousting and fencing, other various kinds of sword play. And yes, I know it's not sport, but I like to make fun of it. Sword play. And what else did I see? Oh, axe throwing, archery. So hey, I'm missing that. We thought about going, but good morning, John, and happy birthday to you, buddy. Three of my favorite people had birthdays this week. John and Mark shared a birthday November 5th, right, John? Because I get these 2 days mixed up. And Philip, my other buddy, his birthday was November 4th. So you guys y'all had birthdays this week. Anyway, Ian, I don't know if I finished that story or not, but anyway, once he could see again, it was just, and she used to laugh. She said she felt so bad. She felt so guilty about it. She just let him take the day off and just wander the woods and discover. And he hasn't stopped discovering since. Yep, the 5th. I thought so. I get you guys, you and Mark, well, once I realized you're on the same day, but Phillips is the fourth, and I was getting Mark's and his backwards, which would include yours. So wasn't sure, and I'll shut up on that and quit stumbling all over myself. You have anything else planned for the day, John? Oh, I have a question, John. You said you weren't fishing today. You thought the beaches would be crowded. Is that because everybody's been out of school this week, or is there something else going on that has the beaches crowded? Or is that just, I mean, maybe they're just always crowded? Well, that wouldn't be true, because then you would say that because sometimes you go fishing anyway. So, well, yeah, I get that part, that they would be off. The reason I said that was somebody on I don't know, one of the Disney channels, Resort TV one maybe, this week, we're talking to someone else in the chat or someone there on property, and they were saying that New Jersey has the schools in New Jersey have they were off this week or out most of the out part of the week. Teachers had in service because there was a lot of people at Disney from Jersey this week, and that seemed to be the case because I saw several people interviewed over the course of the week, or not interviewed, but said hi, that were down there and they were all from New Jersey. So I know there's certain weekends East Coast when that part of the country's off school, or they in Jersey week. So I've heard that before, but so that's sort of the thing, huh? Schools are out for teachers conventions all week. Yeah, okay. Well, that's what I was hearing, and I've heard that before years ago. I remember people talking about that. Being certain weeks out of the year, things like that were going on, and I mean, obviously, spring break makes a difference, and um, it's funny. Certain holidays used to be a big deal. There was a time, John, you well, I don't know, you may remember this, but there was a time when like Columbus Day week was a big day, big time. It was crowded at Disney. Um, Crowds were up. Now, of course, now they're up all the time. I get that, but there used to be weeks when you could go down there and with hardly anybody there, and over a course of years of us going, we kind of figured out when those times were. And, we would try to plan to be there when other people weren't there, and we had that opportunity sometimes, at least. And then things started picking up, and there were some weekends that I never imagined were big weekends for down there. People were off, things like this, I guess. Jersey week. Of course, back then Christmas didn't start until the day after Thanksgiving. We were down there a couple of years before Thanksgiving, and Christmas decorations didn't go up till, and one of the reasons we did this was because this used to happen. Everything would go up on Thanksgiving night. They close Thanksgiving night and come in, and you'd come to the park the next day, and all the Christmas decorations would be up. And that'd be on the Friday after, on Black Friday, but Friday after Thanksgiving, and that was just cool. But now, of course, they're up already. Now they go up weekend after Halloween, I guess. When kids were real small, we would take them out of class and go to Walt Disney World at the end of January. 20 years ago, 5-minute wait times, no more. I know, John, wasn't that great? That's the one month, I think. January may be the only month we've never been. We always wanted to go in January. I don't know if there's any time off. I mean, I don't know if there's any slack time now in any month. So Just heard about Jersey Week the other day. Yeah, it's a real thing, Ian. We took John the first time we went down with our kids. Um, was in the spring of '92, and it was in March, and I think they were off for spring break up here, or where we were at then, which was actually Middle Tennessee, Nashville area. And we went down, and it wasn't bad at all. It wasn't very crowded. But then back then, Easter weekend time frame was bad. But again, it was all related to spring breaks and stuff then. But it didn't last too long. Oh, we haven't been back since. I don't know. We're not sure if Brenda's been back. Brenda may have gone with the girls once after me, but I don't think we've been back since 2010. It's killing me. I never 25 years ago, I never would have imagined that I would have not been back since. We used to go down at least twice a year, and we used to buy annual passes because it was, if you can go down twice a year back then, it was worth it to have an annual pass. But annual passes only cost $400 or $500 a year back then. So, and even that was a lot, but for that time. But Jesus, what are they? Aren't they over 1,000 now for an out of state? I think they are. I haven't looked it up lately, but the discounts and stuff back then were so good that if you had an annual pass, you could book rooms cheaper. You could find all the weeks when they were, so there was some slack time. Those weeks would be discounted, sometimes pretty good discount. We used to stay at Contemporary for, well, just about the same price as we could stay at the All Stars or the Value Resorts, but that's not the case anymore. In 1995, we went down a few weeks before or probably Thanksgiving, and we went camping. We've stayed in the campground several times and really liked the campground, to be honest. Um, and it got rainy towards the end of our week, and it was the year, I believe it was 1995, and I think the Wilderness Lodge had just opened. If it hadn't just opened, it was within that year. And so we packed up the last couple of days. We just decided to go over to the lodge, check it out. We were able to get a room. We stayed there. And in fact, we added a day or two onto our stay because we got there and just, to be honest, fell in love with Wilderness Lodge, and that's one of our favorite resorts. I don't back that, and there wasn't any Disney Village or Disney Vacation Club stuff there then. It was just the basic lodge. The only thing that was Vacation Club back then was Old Key West, and maybe something over. I don't know if the tree houses were Disney Vacation Club or not. They had Vacation Club stuff, but they didn't have the special resorts like they do now. You haven't been back since February of this year. Well, some places, some people that are not as nice as me might call you a smart ass for that, but I wouldn't. I would never say that. I wish I'm. I wish I could say was down in February. I really do miss it, despite all the. I don't know. It's changed so much, but we talk about going back all the time, and we really thought seriously about trying to go back sometime soon. So I don't know. Maybe we will. We have to find something to do with the cats. We don't have anybody to, babysit the cats so much. But other than that, I don't know why we couldn't. No, it's not, and that's one of the reasons we haven't been back so long. But that's not really the biggest reason. It was things just got nuts, and health issues and those kind of things slowed us down. And uh, but now the cost of it is certainly a real factor. And I'm not working anymore. When I was working, it was a whole lot more affordable, or no more affordable, but we could afford it. We had a little bit more expendable, um, or disposable income, I guess you could say. I think that's the term. I keep seeing something up here, and I was trying to figure out. Well, I know what it is now. I'm a product of my father, and I think back when I was growing up, we kept baby food jars. Oh, they did. He did, and we'd put screws and nails and things in them, and hang them on boards, and uh, we had a whole row of boards, and that screw the nail the lid to a board and make a shelf out of it. And on the bottom of the shelf would be baby food jars. You could screw them up into the lid, and that's where we kept small parts and screws and whatnot. And I still do it, but I do it with medicine bottles. I take, I just can't bear to throw, these stuff like this away, and I keep it, label it, put things in it. I've got screws, and what I've got up there, I finally figured out what I'm looking at is I've got one of these. It's got different my lead for all my mechanical pencils. Oh, did he, Ian? So, well, you know what I'm talking about then. Guys, I don't know. We may be it. I'm gonna. I'm kind of wondering where my spousal unit is. We were looking to go next November. It was like 8K for two of us. That's like 2, 3 crew. Yeah. Well, I can't. We don't. Nobody. I guess nobody likes to stand and wait. The lines these days, some of them are just so long for some of the new rides. I mean, they're still. I keep waiting for them to. It used to be a new ride would come along, and for the first year, so there'd be terrible crowds and all that, but the lines would be long. But then things would back off. But there's some rides that have been there for 10 years now, like the mine train ride, and I always hear people talking about how long those lines are still are. Now, I used to think a long line was standing in line at the Pirates for 30 or 40 minutes, but that was if we were there in the summertime or anytime it wasn't cool. That was not so bad because you could get in and out of the heat for a while, but like Tron, I guess Tron's still got really long lines, and well, like I said, the mine train I hear still is long. I don't mind too much. It's yeah, me too, John. And we used to like to go at Christmas because of the decorations and the atmosphere, because it was special. And but we didn't always go do the rides and stand in line for the attractions. I mean, we knew that what that was going to be like, and we knew that going in. But we enjoyed all the other stuff, the resort decorations, the festivities, and we do some rides and do some of it, do some things, but we didn't have to do everything. But we knew that going in. I used to tell people if it was their first trip down not to go at Christmas or New Year's. I mean, it was great to do that, but don't make that your first trip, because it'll just not. My brother and his wife went one time, and I don't know what time of the year they went. This has been quite some time back, and they absolutely hated it because to them, and they called it this. I can't remember if it was my brother or his wife. They referred to it as stroller hell because it was just so full of kids and strollers, and they don't have kids, and they did not like it. It was too crowded. It was just everything was bad about it. And as far as I know, they've never gone back, and they never could, I guess, understand why we went so much. But I always looked at it different, like you, John. There was it was a lot about the experience, not just the. I didn't just go to ride the rides. I'd love to go to do some of those rides. Don't get me wrong, and Brenda and I used to like to ride roller coasters and stuff, but that wasn't the reason we went to Disney. I don't think. Between paying for lightning lanes and learning how to enjoy all the non-ride things, we've learned to make it a good trip. Yeah, and the lightning lane thing is something I don't even totally understand now, Ian. I mean, what did we used to have? Fast Pass. When Fast Passes first came along, it was kind of cool, but then, then I started wondering if I don't know, it seemed like it changed the whole dynamic of standing in line, but so I don't know anything about. I don't understand the Lightning Lane program. I've never been there. I didn't take a stroller or a wheelchair to the ankle Achilles last Disneyland trip. That was a win. Wait a minute. I didn't take a stroller or a wheelchair to the ankle Achilles last Disneyland trip. That was a win. You may have to explain that, Ian. I'm not sure I'm understanding. That's the problem with me now. I pretty much have to have a mobility scooter of some sort to get around because I can't walk that far that much. Man, we used to though. I remember one year, a couple of years, we wore step counters while we were there just to see, and we were walking. I can't. It was way more miles a day than I realized. It was 5 or 6 miles a day. Some days more than that. 10 miles a day we were walking minimum, and just loving it all. There's my wife. She may pop in real quick. I don't know if that means she's going to come in real quick now and then leave, or if she's going to hang around. I guess I'll find out when she gets here. I didn't take a stroller or wheelchair. Oh, yeah, I read that already. I'm trying to figure out the ankle Achilles part. Is that because here I am popping? Well, hi there, Brenda Pruitt. It's a light crowd today, so with you not here, we were down to just about me and John and Ian, I think. I don't know if Doug was here. He may still be here. In February, I took a wheelchair to the Achilles on Haunted, and then July last year at Disneyland, I took a plastic rental stroller to the Achilles. They hurt. Friends stop by. See you in a bit. I'll see you, John. Thanks for stopping in, babe. If you come back in, we'll be here for a little while anyway. Achilles heel, get it. Hey, Brenda. Well, I know what an Achilles heel is, but I don't totally understand it. Anyway, we've talked. Hey, there's Doug. He's still with us. Doug, you've been down recently, haven't you? Didn't I see you down when Pete was down not too long ago? I'm not sure about that, but it seems like I saw Pete was watching Pete down there. He's down there right now, but he was also down there not too long ago, I think. It was all back before the All-Star. I mean, not the All-Stars, for the World Series and stuff started. Maybe before football season started. Where's Mark? Well, Mark is sick. I got a note. I sent him a note a while ago to ask him if he was coming, and he said he was violently ill, so he's not with us. When you take the pedal of a wheelchair or the front of the stroller. Oh, yes. Well, that does hurt. I do get that. And I totally understand that then. You were there in June going back to, has it been that long ago, Doug? I thought it was more recent that, or maybe there was some get together. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. For some reason, I was thinking I saw you there with Pete was there, but I could be totally wrong. I mean, I probably am. Brent and I were discussing part of the plans for going was trying to figure out how we were going to do as far as rentals. Rental goes for mobility scooters, and we've we've rented them there. We've never rented them from off site. We have had to rent them before several. When I hurt my back several years ago, we had to have one, or maybe it's when her knees were bad. But anyway, and at that time we just used the ones they had at the park. It's a whole different it's a whole different way of having to do things when you're in a chair, in a scooter or chair. So I can appreciate how tough. I learned to appreciate just, how that changes what you're able to do and not do. My mother-in-law rented a wheelchair off-site pretty easy. Well, that's good to know. I guess I've wondered a little bit about getting around to and from uh, venues. Here's one thing we always did when we went down, and this is not most people that I see online don't do this, but we almost always drove down, which was about a 10-12 hour trip for us. Not that bad. But when I parked the car, we didn't get back in it again. So we used on site. We rode buses, we rode monorails, we rode trains, whatever was available is what we rode. And honestly, we always did along just fine with it. Brenda used to tell people used to say, "Don't you? Didn't that take to?" Brenda always used to say, "Well, that's." She always looked at it like we had to get a bus to ride somewhere. Then that was the first ride of the day, and that was. But that's the, I guess, difference in how some people look at it. We knew that we had to plan for that kind of stuff, and we worked around it. I think one of the other things that happens with it being so expensive now is that people don't want to waste time. They want to get there and do what they paid for, and that makes sense to me too. It but once we got there, I just always wanted to park the car, leave the car, and just that was also staying on property. In fact, I don't think we've ever gone to Disney World when we didn't stay on property. I'm trying to think if that's true. I've been there when I wasn't staying on property, but not usually. We weren't down there just for that. We were there for whatever other reason. I lived in Florida for a while, many years ago, and that's when I first started going. That was in the early '70s. So we'd drive over for a day or something. That was back in the e-ticket days, e-ticket books. Only been to Disneyland once. Brenda's been twice. She went with her mom and I think her grandmother one time. I don't know if she comes back in. I'll have to ask her. I can't remember when they went. They went out there. Her mom hadn't been back west. Her mom's from California. Brenda's from California originally, and her mom's mother was still out there, and so they hadn't seen each other in quite a while. So I think Brenda and I paid for the tickets, and they went out to see her grandmother. While they were out there, they went to Disneyland one day or 2 days, maybe probably one. And then she and I went out there few years later because we had an opportunity with some flights, free flights or discounted flights or something. Anyway, we went out there then and spent a few days, and I really liked it. Disneyland is really special. I don't say I like it better. It's just special. I'll send you a video someone I know did about how to navigate with a scooter around the park. Very informative. Okay, thanks, Ian. Do that. I know there's a couple of people out there doing more videos about that. But I haven't spent a lot of time looking. I've been meaning to. I know Brenda. I think when Brenda did, she went to. She took her mom and went to Disney World and stayed a few days. I don't know what year that was, and they went to Mother. They did a special luncheon for Mother's Day, and it was in May, so it was during the Flower and Garden Festival, which back then I think was about the only festival they were doing. And we used to really like to go for that event too. That was another time Brenda and I went down, and I think she rented a wheelchair one day, and Brenda pushed her around. I mean, for a day. She didn't want to ride a motorized scooter because she didn't know how. She was afraid to drive it. Let me put it that way. You sent something twice. If you did, it didn't pop up here. Well, no. I don't know what you did twice, Ian, but I don't see it. Oh, you hadn't sent it already. Ah, you're fast. I started collecting pens a long time ago, sort of. Every time we were down there, I'd get some different pens for something that meant something about the trip. Hotel pens, some new thing, train pens. I really like the trains. I love trains and things like that. And I thought I got this big bag of pens, and I thought, wow, I got a lot of pens. And then I met Donna and a few other people online here in the Disney community, and realized I didn't have anything. I have a few pens. I don't have anything like they've got. My goodness. But I do have a couple of really unique pens that apparently are really hard to find and are quite collectible now. So that's kind of cool. I have something that Brenda got for me one Christmas when we were down there, and it was a set, and it was they were all monorail pens, and I can't remember what the event was. It was one of the 25th or 30th anniversary maybe of Walt Disney World, and they were all each pen had a different character of the Fab Five, and those are really rare now and hard to find. The only thing is there was actually one more pen that once you had the whole set completed was part of that set, and that pen I don't have. I wish I had that. I have all the rest of them, but I don't have that one. And back then I didn't even realize that it was the thing, so I didn't ever try to buy it. And you can get it, but it's kind of pricey if you can find it. I've seen them. I have seen them on pen sites, but I haven't tried to buy one in a while. I'd have to get it out of the bag and see them. I have a bag I bought. The girls bought me, or I bought, pens. It's got you can put pens in it, and how would you describe it? It's not pages, but there are separate sections, and you can pen all your stuff in. Anyway, welcome back. We were just talking about Disney World trips and pens. and you going with your mom. Didn't you take your mom down? I know you did. You took her down for Mother's Day one time. And didn't you rent a wheelchair for her and pushed her around some? Your little princess woke up. Oh, did she? She Is that why you had to leave? You had to go tend to her? That's a cat, by the way. She's referring to her cat. Who does indeed think she's a princess. It's the one cat I've ever had, I think, that fits all the stereotypes you hear about people talking about their cats. Oh, anyway. I also have a one of the really big posters that they did special posters when the for the 25th anniversary when the castle looked like a birthday cake. I know a lot of people didn't like that, and I've heard a lot of people complain about it over the years, but I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. My mom would not ride a mobility car, so I had to push her in a wheelchair. We rented the whole time we were there. That's what I thought. Brenda, keep everybody talking for a minute since I'm not doing my regular show. I'm saving that since Mark's not here. I'm gonna go grab my bag of pens and bring them up here for a minute. But I'm gonna cut the camera off so I don't if I can find I'm gonna cut myself off just for a minute. I'll keep talking, but I'm gonna cut the camera off. All right, I'm back. I'm back. Brenda, you want to get on screen with me? I can turn your camera on. Anybody else? I should have asked if anybody else wants to. I mean, I realize there's not hardly anybody here, but if you want to come online, you're certainly welcome. Everybody keep talking. 1 and a 2 and go. Tom's cut. Yeah, actually, and that's kind of funny because my brother's name's Tom. I have this bag. And as you can see, I got it the 100 Years of Dreams with the Walt Disney Company, I think, is what this is from. Or maybe it was for Walt's birthday, or Walt's 100th birthday. These are the pens I was talking about. I guess these are, or if I have any pens, let me get them out of this plastic case. If I have any pens that are actually worth something, it's probably these. I got a lot of pens, but I mean, like I said, I don't have a lot of pens, but I have different pens for different trips. Come on, focus. Come on. Well, there they go. That's better. So you see that each one's got a different color monorail, and each one's got a different character: Mickey, Minnie, Oh, there's Stitch. I didn't realize there was a Stitch. And of course, Donald Duck and Goofy and Pluto. And then this one at the bottom has Figment, which was kind of cool because Figment was our youngest daughter's favorite character, at least at the parks. But I found out later, after I bought this, that if you had the whole set, there was this special completer pin, they call it. It's this one right here, and it's Tinkerbell on the monorail. And that one I don't have, and I never said I didn't realize it was even a thing. But they only made, there's only 600 of these. And at the time I got them, we didn't, well, Brenda, you got this for me, or the girls did. I don't think we realized how big of a deal that was. So this is the most limited edition pen I've got. And I don't have any of the great big ones like people have now. That wasn't a thing when I started collecting them. Anyway, that's that's what I have. That's probably my most. Brenda, these probably need to go on my list of things in my die you can sell to make, maybe get some money, maybe make me worth something. But I also have this bag has these. I was trying to figure out what to call them because they're not pages, but they're different sections that you can put pins in. One of the girls got me this pen. They went down. One of the girls, I don't know if it was Jennifer or Kelly, went down right after Tron opened, and she brought me a Tron pen. And I've got these are California pens. I won the trip out there. I got a few of these kind of pens back when you used to get things like this from the Disney Movie Club years ago. I signed up for that, and so I had lots of those. And there's also I've got a bunch. I don't have the set that were in little boxes, and they were all different movies. And I can't remember what. And maybe that was the 100th anniversary also, or 100th year Dreams. Again, I think that would have been in around 2000. Let's see, when was Walt born? He was born in the early teens or aughts of 19 aught something, I think, 1902 or 4. That was Kelly because they couldn't wait to ride Tron, and oh yeah, that was Kelly. I doubt that, babe. One of the girls probably take that. Oh, you mean you probably won't get any money out of that? That's what you're saying. Anyway, pens are fun, but like I said, I don't have pens like serious pen traders do. And most of my pens, I mean, obviously this one costs more. And this was $75, I think, when you bought it. So that was a pretty big expense. But most of my pens cost $5, $6, $7 maybe. I don't know what they cost now. But those great big ones, I know they're expensive. One of these days we're going to go back. I don't know. I'd like to go back when I know there's something going on. When there's a get together happening or an event like, this is of course coming up on Christmas that the Give Kids the World events happening in December. And I know somewhere around December 6th, I think, Dad Builds is having a get together over at Disney at the boardwalk area. I'd love to go do something like that. I've never met any of the people I know online that are Disney people. We went years when everybody we knew, family and most of our friends, didn't really understand why we liked to go to Disney so much. And they didn't get it, or they thought it was they didn't like the rides. They thought, other places were better, be it Universal or wherever, or true roller coaster people. There wasn't a lot of roller coasters at Walt Disney World back then, so people like to go other places. But anyway, and then I got online, and eventually, and that just turned into a whole world of Disney people that were like us, and suddenly we weren't able to go so much. So it's kind of a what's the turn of phrase I'm looking for? Good bad situation, I guess. Yeah, there's a lot of people I'd really like to meet. I'd like to meet all you guys, or normally the folks that show up here every week and come to my show, and because most of the folks here at least go to Disney once in a while. Mark's not a Disney person, of course, and there's other people that aren't, but a lot of the folks here are, and I'd love to be able to have a get together. I wouldn't mind doing that. And we've talked about this before, having a get together, if you want to call it that, a Saturday morning shine get together at Dollywood or just anywhere here in the mountains for that matter. If we could, this is somewhat centralized for the East Coast people, obviously not for Ian, since he's out west, but and or Mark. But I'd love to, have get together somewhere someday, somewhere maybe. Oh, I'll take that back. I have met one person. We met Carol Karki and her family. Were in Gatlinburg one year, and were visiting down here doing, vacation, and they were doing rafting rides and went to Dollywood a couple of days and just hanging out in the Smoky Mountains. And we got to go to meet. We went to Gatlinburg and had dinner uh, with Carol and her family. Well, we sort of had dinner. We met them at Bubba Gump Shrimps Company, and they were. She was there, and her husband was there, and with some of their kids. I don't remember who all was there, and they actually had gotten there first and had eaten. I guess, like, because they didn't know us, and so they were a little bit more. They wanted to have dinner, and and the kids didn't know us, and so Carol came over and sat with us or had dinner with us. I can't remember which. Anyway, we got to meet Carol and say hi to her. I think Danny, her husband, and one of her boys. I can't remember which one it was. Alejandro. I don't want to pronounce it wrong, or the other one. I think the other one's older. I think it was their oldest son. Anyway, so have got to have meet Matt. Oh, and no, I'll take that back. There's a second. We've met a second couple. Um, Surfer girl Cherie. We've met her and her husband James. They were over here visiting his sister or her sister lives over the mountain here in Asheville, and we got together with her. We met them in Gatlinburg, and where did we? No, we met them in Johnson City, and had dinner with them or lunch one day with them at one of our favorite local restaurants up there, Cooter Brown's. So we have met them. Has there been anybody else, Brenda? Because I keep saying we've not met anybody, and then realize, oh yeah, we did, but I think that's it. Of course, John's brother doesn't live too far from here, so we're hoping that he comes down to visit with his brother one day. We can meet up because he just lives over the mountain from where we live now. It's not that far at all. And so, somehow I feel like I'm I'm sitting here talking to myself. So Brenda, speak up. We could just go knock on his door sometime. We could. Yes, it does. Mark's not here, and I'm talking to myself, and don't have very many people here. Most everybody is gone today. You miss your buddy? Yeah, I do. I can hear him when we're talking, and you guys, I'm reading, but it's different. If you've ever done it, it's different. And if I turn the microphone on, so I hear myself talking, through the internet, through YouTube to you guys, it echoes and stuff so bad. It's just it's just disconcerting. Well, Tina and Chuck are at Disney World. That's what one of the things that got to start talking about it. And Carol is gone. She left a note or sent me a note this morning early that she was not going to make it because one of her good friends up in Detroit was going on vacation, and they had planned to have coffee today before she left town for a week or so. And so she's there. And what else did I get? Mark's sick. And I don't know. I think there are quite a few people maybe at Disney this weekend. And I think it must be because this weekend kicked off the Christmas season officially down there. The first Mickey's, what do they call that now? Mickey's Christmas party started last night because there were a bunch of people live streaming that. Pete was there, Pete McDevitt, of course. Resort TV One was streaming, and some other people. And I can remember when they started those parties, and they were kind of small. And we went. We didn't go to not so scary thing. It just started, and it wasn't nearly what it is now. The Christmas party. I don't think we've officially been to either one of those, but they used to do other events, at least for resort guests. And you could do the after hours thing. We used to do that a lot. The girls loved that because they would just go get on their favorite roller coaster ride, whatever it might be, in whichever park we were in, and just ride. They rode. I want to say one year they got in line and rode Big Thunder Mountain like 10 or 11 times in a row or something like that. Just because that was their favorite back then. That was their favorite roller coaster down there. And that they may nowadays. I don't know. Like I said, Kelly loves Tron. I don't know if Jen's ever been on Tron. We've never been on Tron. But Big Thunder Mountain is one of our favorites too. It's always been just a fun roller coaster. If you like roller coasters, Dollywood's not that far from here, and that's become a real top notch park for roller coasters. They've got a bunch of good roller coasters now. We haven't been on one in years over there because they've added several since the last time we've been. But that's another place we'd like to go do that. I don't know why we don't. We're just well, I know partly why. Yeah, well, I know Ian's in Colorado. What? Oh, yeah, Ian's in Colorado, Brenda. Um, and we haven't gone because of my back and stuff in years. That's one of the reasons we've not been to Disney World in so long. But I am determined not to continue to sit here and do nothing. I've got to get back out there. So we're going to go. If I have to ride a mobility scooter, so be it. That's what we're going to do. And I feel like I can ride roller coasters and stuff if they don't say, that I'm not allowed for whatever reason. I'm not sure how strict they are about that. Sounds good, Ian. I've not done as much about it as I should have. My spirit needs a kick in the ass every once in a while. Pardon me. But we're trying. We're slowly but surely starting to get back to. I got to get on. I want to get on my motorcycle again so bad I can't stand it. And another thing we're trying to figure out, Brenda and I both, and maybe me more than her, but I want us to start traveling. We had hoped to do some motorcycle trips when we retired, and that hasn't happened, of course. Um, but we also talked about camping, and I keep looking at campers, uh, small ones to tow or a small motorhome that we could get and start traveling around. And I'd love to go to everybody's hometown that I know and visit. Yeah, we do, Ian. That's very true. That's very true. You have to avoid some of the pitfalls of wallowing in your own self pity, I guess sometimes, and oh woe is me, and get off your butt. I have to do a better job of fighting that sometimes. We need to step out of our comfort zone and go do things. Yes, we do. Well, we need to get back to doing the things we used to do. I mean, we used to be pretty active. I miss, God Almighty, I miss hiking in the mountains. We used to hike a lot, and I miss that. I miss I miss walking through the woods in the Smokies and seeing a bear and three cubs and bears up in trees and bear jams in the Cage Cove. I miss even all that stuff. Even Dollywood. Once upon a time we used to keep season tickets for Dollywood too. All right, Doug. Thanks for stopping in, buddy. Have a good rest of your day. I'm sure we'll see you around in somebody's chat again soon. I had a show ready for today. I know you guys probably know that. A bear and the Smokies. So Smokey the Bear. That's it. And I've hunted. I hunted around in some of these mountains for when I was younger, off and on for years, and just wasn't. It got to the point that it wasn't too unusual to see more bears in the mountains in places other than the Smokies. Smokies was always they always had a high population because they were protected, and bear seasons and hunting, they cut it back way back, and plus people weren't doing it as much, and so population started building, and then problem bears, for lack of a better word, got moved around, or there's a bear sanctuary not too far from where we used to live up in the mountains along Unaka Mountain, there's a small wilderness area up there. So we started seeing more and more bears there, and it wasn't too unusual to step out of the bushes. I know on several occasions, Mark and I stepped out of bushes and ran into a bear, or saw one crossing in front of the trail in front of us. Mark, I wasn't with him. We were hunting, but we weren't together at that moment. He was crawling through some rhododendron thicket, which, if you've ever been in the east and been through they used to call them rhododendron hells back here because they were so thick and tangled and hard to get through, tough sledding. And he was crawling through one, and he popped out the other side, and right in front of him, he was face to face with a bear. He said all he remembered was the bear went whoof, and then turned tail and went the other way. But so that wasn't too unusual. But yeah, we bears. I've always had a special thing for the bears here. And this name Tennessee Bear wasn't really my idea when it came up. I kind of got this from somebody else. But then it kind of I linked it with Disney because at the time I wanted to do more Disney stuff, and there's a character in the Disney's Country Bear Jamboree in the band that his name is Tennessee Bear, So I kind of linked the two things together. A lot of people don't get that part. They don't remember because he's not one of the main characters, but he does get mentioned usually, or used to. I don't know if it does now. And he's the one that plays the upright bass, but it's only got one string. So he calls it something like the one string thing or something. I can't remember how they describe it. But anyway, that's Tennessee Bear. And a lot of people, even a lot of Disney people that I know that don't don't pick up on that. I just mentioned it the other day in a chat room. I can't remember where I was at, and people were like, "Really? I didn't know that." And they go all the time. Of course, everybody doesn't go see that show all the time, but like I said, the show's changed, so who knows? Maybe they don't mention it anymore. They used to name the ones in the band, and the hillbilly. I don't remember what they called the band now, the group. They played off to the side during the show, and they'd pop out, and do a little number, and then they'd go back behind the curtain, and something else would happen, and Big Al would come out and sing his song, "Blood on the Saddle." Blood on the ground. And of course, also in Smokey Bear, the forest fire guy was kind of started and gained popularity when I was growing up. We used to see him on TV a lot. Wildfires were a bigger concern then in some parts of the country. CBJ changed last country, yeah, to a different show, updated. Yeah, they did. I haven't seen it since then, unless it's been. Well, I've seen it in live streamers. Well, which I was also going to finish that. When I first started streaming, I wanted to, or when I first thought about streaming, I wanted to do some Disney stuff. But I figured out, we're not down there, and there's so many live streamers down there that live in the area that get to go a lot that I just felt like, it wasn't. I needed to try to figure out my own thing, which I guess I've done. Mark and I've done. I did do this show by myself for quite a while, and then I got Mark to come on one day and do a show with me, and he's been on ever since. So yeah, you don't see Smokey the Bear as much, although I have seen him a little bit more recently. Probably because all the fires out west in the last 10, 15 years, maybe. Well, I figured out that I needed to do. That's what I needed to do, and there were plenty of people doing Disney that could do it and do it better, and were there a lot, and could it was more interesting and um, in that regard. And I just I had different, I guess, specialties. I had different background than a lot of folks on here, and so I could try to talk about some things that everybody else didn't. And my very first shows, or the very first shows I did, we did some aviation shows because I have a background in that too. And what's it, Blue Nose? He also goes by a different name now, Chris. Um, he's an aviation buff, and is or was crewing, doing volunteer crew on a World War II airplane, a warbird. And so he and I used to talk a lot, and he came on and did one of my very first shows he was on, and we talked about airplanes, particularly he crewed on let's see, was it a Dauntless? No, a TBM Avenger, I believe, which was one of the dive bombers that was heavily involved during World War II, and primarily in the Pacific theater at major battles like Coral Sea and um, Midway, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of those in there. So he used to travel, go around to a few events a year with those guys, and got to fly on the airplane some, which would be really cool. I've never flown in one of those. The, the oldest thing I've flown around in was a PT 17 Stearman built by Boeing. It was the primary trainer right up until World War II. It was a biplane, and just so happened that was the first airplane I worked on. Not worked on as a professional, but worked on as a helper, and got involved with and helped put it back together. It was a restoration job, and got to fly in that several times, and really, oh my God, what that was so much fun. That was such a unique experience. Brenda, I don't think you ever got to do that. That's a shame. I wish you had. You weren't probably. I doubt your mom and dad would have let you then because we were still in high school. But I did. And the guy I was with was probably the best pilot I've ever known. And I've flown with quite a few pilots over the years, doing test flights and things. And I think I have no doubt that he was the best natural pilot I've ever met. You read about people like Chuck Yeager, and there's others that just seem to be natural born pilots that do things, extraordinary things that other pilots, while they're great pilots, don't do or can't do. And this guy was, not saying he was a Chuck Yeager, but he was definitely a natural born pilot. It was just something that came to him naturally, and I flew with him, not enough, but quite a bit, but not enough. And I got to fly in the Stearman with him, and I'll never forget the first time we were flying along, and I don't know, we were talking. We had an intercom system. It wasn't electronic. It was called a Gosport tube system, and it's just rubber hoses, basically with air, and it's connected to a set of headphones like things in a leather helmet style thing, and you could talk and hear each other just clearly as I'm sitting here talking. And I can't remember if he warned me or not, but whoop, we rolled over on our back, and I'm looking down at the ground. I'm holding on. It's open cockpit. I don't know if I mentioned that. And I'm holding on both sides of the cockpit. Of course, I wasn't going to fall out. We had a really good safety harness, but it was just an unusual experience if you've never been upside down in the air at a couple thousand feet. Hey, Adventures by D. Welcome in, Dave. It's a quiet show today. Not too many of us here, so pull up a chair. I've just been sitting here kind of yakking because turned out my co-host was sick today, so I didn't want to do the show I had planned because he wanted to be involved in it. So I just let that go, and we just been sitting here. I've been sitting here talking. I would say we've been sitting here having discussions, and we have, but I don't want to imply that everybody's having a good time because they're probably not. But Ian's still here. Brenda was around a minute ago. Surf Bum John's been in and out. He had a buddy come by, so he had to step out. Zippity Doo Doug just left. He was here for a while. Seems like somebody else was here for a little bit, a few minutes anyway. So we're just kind of talking about how we got here and Disney, and a little bit about airplanes and that sort of thing. And there's my wife, Brenda. She's still here. So see, Dave, did I just see you post a new Dollywood video or vlog, or was it somewhere else you've been? And maybe neither one, but I was thinking hey, there's Rhonda. Now the party can start. Oh, she just popped in for a couple of minutes. Oh, a couple of minutes ago. Well, you should have said hi because there's not a lot of people here today. It's been a quiet morning. Mark was sick, and there's several people gone on vacation and out, some at Disney World, some just out visiting. not a new Dollywood, but I have been there for Christmas 3 times. Well, Dave, we went there for Christmas. My wife and I did when we on our was it Brenda? Was it our first wedding? Was it our first anniversary? My mom gave us tickets. Back then, it was not. They weren't nearly as big as they are now, but it was Dollywood by then. And she wanted us to get to go to see the Christmas shows, and we did. And it was cold. It was like 25 degrees or something. I can't remember. Brenda like froze to death, but we had a good time, I thought. And we rode the train up and down the mountain, which was really cold. Um, but it was still beautiful. And, we may have been back once since then, but it's been a long time. Rhonda says, some days I talk, some days I lurk while doing other things. It's a toss up. Well, toss it up and come back this way today. Some days I sleep in way too late and miss it all together. Well, now I'm not a sleep in late person, never have been, but I get that. I mean, sometimes that's just your only day you can do that. And then some days you're like me and you don't sleep all night, and so you finally fall asleep about 6 a.m. and you don't want to get up for a little while. Chris and I went for our first anniversary too. Oh, really? That's well, cool, Dave. We got that in common. Brenda, am I right? Am I remembering right? Was that our first anniversary? It could have been a fifth or a 10th, but I think it was our first. I think that's why she gave us the tickets. And just so you know, in case you're wondering why my name and title says what it does, if you've been here long, you know that I try to have a new name or in this box here, not every week, different kind of bear. And today, the main topic was going to be about the North American copper culture, which was sort of North America's Stone Age, not Stone Age, North America's Bronze Age period, which actually happened before the Bronze Age happened in Europe. And it's something that they're really just now discovering and figuring out because they now realize that there's been humans here longer than they thought. Anyway, copper's periodic code definition or abbreviation is Cu. And when copper oxidizes, rust, corrode, it turns green. So that's why I'm only green when I'm oxidizing. I'll have to come up with a new joke now for next time I do this show. Well, it's been a long time ago for us too, Dave. Brenda and I have an anniversary coming up in December, and it will be our what year, babe? It'll be our 48th, I think. Rhonda lurks well. She does lurk well. And there's something to be said for a good lurker. There's nothing wrong with lurking if you don't have any kind of malfeasance in mind, or is that the right word? Am I using that right? Close enough. So who is supposed to get snow this week? Not us. How about you? Ian, of the people that are here right now, my guess would be on Ian. Now Tina and Chuck aren't here, but maybe they're due for some. Is there a big front moving through? Rhonda, I hadn't even looked at the weather in a couple of days. Not us, just hard freeze on Monday. Well, we had our first frost, Dave, just a few days ago. Was it one day this week? It might have been last Saturday. We had frost. That was our first frost. Monday's high is 42. Now, Dave, you talking about this coming Monday or last Monday? I'm assuming this coming Monday is what to predict. Yeah, forecast. Okay. Yeah, we actually got down. My thermometer on the door here for a couple of days read 34. It has a little memory it'll keep for like a day, and the low and the high of that day, and it was 34 for 2 or 3 days in a row. But I think yesterday it was 47 or something when I came out and looked at it. So it's warmed up, but I think it was, well, yeah, I think it was last Saturday because I think we were on the show talking about it. I took some pictures. I took a couple of pictures just for show and tell because I like to aggravate Mark about it because of course he has snow. He's already had snow. Which side is it good? Did you also have snow in a couple of weeks ago? Marking it, they had snow covered the ground. I don't know how much they actually got, but then it didn't last long this time. Let's see here. Those pictures I took. Oh, wrong page. There, gallery. Yeah, there they are. Well, there they are, but I don't see a date on them. And I know I can do that, but I'm probably not going to try to figure it out right now. But anyway, we had frost. I had frost on my handrail out here in my front porch. There it goes. Thank you, camera. But that was last weekend, and that's the coldest it's been for us. Anchorage got a bunch over the last couple of days. Oh, wait a minute, Rhonda. Are you living in Anchorage now? We actually have not had snow down here yet. What's your elevation, Ian? You live, you're in Colorado, but you're lower than Mark is, I think. Oh, Chris is. Okay. I always wanted to go to Anchorage. Man, I wanted to go. I almost had a, not a job, but a job. Well, I did. Actually, I almost have a job up there. At least I had an offer to go up there one summer and work flying in and out of Denali for I guess whoever had the contract that year for flying out of Denali was flying some airplanes I had background on, and the guy asked me if I was interested. Yeah, I was thinking you were a little bit lower. Mark's over 7,000. I can't remember exactly what his elevation is, but it's high enough up that it makes a difference. He's always making fun of Denver because they brag about being the mile high city all the time. I thought about that years later, and I thought, there's a lot of places higher than that. I want to go up there and see it. It's nothing like I thought it was. Oh, really? Well, Anchorage is kind of different. I'm actually at a lower elevation here than I was down in Atlanta, which I was not expecting. I'm only about 800 feet. You were higher than that in Atlanta? I didn't know Atlanta was that high. We're about 1,200 here on this spot. I'm looking at a topographic map, and I've read all the lines and figured out how high we are. But the airport I used to work on up here was 1,500 feet elevation. Of course, when I worked in Nashville, we were in the basin, and the elevation out there was only a few hundred feet. I can't remember, 400 something maybe. 1,500. But except for on. Oh, wait a minute. And I'll make that so I can read it. Except for on South America, most of those places that higher up don't have people in them. That's true. Like Mark, yeah, that's true. And there's not. That's why, and that's one reason Mark lives there, because there's not a lot of people there. I thought I was moving in the North Georgia mountains. well, well, you probably are without giving anything away, but you're not that far away from where we are, and we're in the edge of the mountains here. We're in, like I've said before, the little ridge and valley, but right up against the higher mountains of the Appalachians, and as you are also, and We're about, like I said, 12. I think we're 1,200 and something feet here. So it just depends on, you can be right in the mountains here, and and be low, and then you can be high because we just go like this a lot. There's some really pretty places in North Georgia, though. I've ridden motorcycles down there a fair bit. Some There's some great motorcycle roads down to ride, just to travel in North Georgia. Let's see, Rhonda. I think again, I'm not asking you to tell us where you live, but North Georgia, I believe, is considered the area of the first gold rush in America. I think well, in the United States at least. Obviously, the Spaniards were in South America rushing for gold then, but I think around Dahlonega and what's the other town? Might be Dahlonega. Might have been the site of the first gold rush. Tampa's low on Tuesday was 30. It's 39. Well, they'll be freezing to death in Florida then, if that's the case. Hey, John. John's back. We got Rhonda, and I think Dave might still be in the room with Dave's adventures with Dave. I think he may have had to step out, but he was here. So we got a big crowd now. Oh no, Rhonda, you don't, but that's okay. That's probably the local weather. The commerce in Athens. Okay. Well, I have the general idea. But if you get up in around Dahlonega and oh man, what's the name of that town where Bill Elliott used to live, the race NASCAR driver? When I was in NASCAR, I was a Bill Elliott fan. Not just into it. I actually worked in NASCAR for a while, part time. Um, we went down there for some races. Brenda drove down through there a couple of times. Came to a race. That's on Dave's side of Georgia. Okay. Dawsonville. Thank you, Dave. Dawsonville. Awesome Bill from Dawsonville is what they used to call him. And oh crap, I lost my whole chain of thought. Anyway, a lot of great roads down there. A lot of really good riding. See, I knew he would know. He did know. And I knew. I just couldn't remember. They used to anytime Bill won, but down there when he'd win a race, they'd start running a big siren they had at the fire department, if I recall correctly. I guess it was some sort of I don't know if it was like a tornado warning horn or what it was, but they would sound that off anytime he won a race. That was back in what I think were the good old days of NASCAR. It was a lot of fun back then. I guess it would be today if I was that age again and I was working in it, but it just doesn't seem like the same thing anymore. It has changed a lot. We used to come down to we used to ride our bikes down. Phil and I did, and we drove a couple of times in a car, but we rode our bikes down there several times and went to motorcycle races at not Dahlonega, at Brazelton or Brazelton. I'm not sure which way they pronounce it. At Road Atlanta, and go to the races there a lot. Well, some. When Chase wins, they still run. Oh, do they? Chase is being his son, Bill's son. That's the Dawsonville Pool Hall. That's it, not the fire department, the pool hall. Thank you, Dave. John was a Bill Elliott and Ricky Rudd fan. Yeah, I like, and we were kind of forward. Well, Brenda wasn't. Brenda was a Dale Earnhardt fan, but I got to meet him one time. I actually worked on a car that he drove. He came to Nashville one time for a special event. They used to do that back then. Nashville, in fact, used to be on the NASCAR circuit. But I mean, I'm talking about old Nashville, not new Nashville. New Nashville has a track, and they may race, and they race down there now. But this was back in the old days when it was at the fairground. And one year, not Bill, Dale Earnhardt came, and Harry Gant came, and the team I worked for in NASCAR, Busch Grand National, which was NASCAR, but the team I worked for and helped build cars for, put together two local cars, and they, Dale or Harry drove one, and Dale drove the other one, Dale Earnhardt. So I got to meet those guys. Dale Earnhardt was actually, I didn't used to be a Dale Earnhardt fan on the racetrack, and if you ever have hung around NASCAR guys, people are fans, you know how they are. You're usually one or the other, not both or not everybody, but you're either a fan or you're an enemy or whatever. But I wasn't always crazy about him on the track, but once I met him, I guess it changed something, because he was a nice guy. He was fun and a fun guy to be around at the track when they were relaxed and just being normal people. They're doing something with the racetrack over there, expansion, rebuild, something. Which one? At Brazelton or at which track, Rhonda? Do you keep up with NASCAR, Ian? I know Dad Bills does some. Like I said, I've been out of it for a long time. Yeah. They just had a big event down there, the sports car, what's called IMSA, International Motorsports, whatever they are, but they run the sports car series in America. Their final race of the year is at Road Atlanta, and they call it the Petit Le Mans, and it's a 10-hour race. It used to be a 12-hour race, but it's a 10-hour event, and because they do more endurance type racing. And I think they talked about that. I just watched that. I watched all 10 hours not too long ago. Pronounced like Brack. So it's Brazelton. And I think there's S's or Z's or something in there. Rhonda, I have a good friend that moved to Hodgson, Dave. I'm not sure I know where that is. Oh, that's the next town to you. Okay. Well, I guess you're talking about Brazelton. Or maybe you're talking about Hodgson. I don't know. I'm confused. I don't know where that's at, actually. I'd have to look that up real quick. Oh, okay. We used to, when I was still in Nashville, I used to ride around with motorcycles with a guy who was a long time BMW club person, and they used to go down to a place in North Georgia. It was called back then it was called Two Wheels Only, or TWO Campground, and it was a motorcycle only campground, and it was there for they had like a converted boarding house / farmhouse. I'm not sure. It's pretty good size. Hell, it might have been a barn at one time for all I know. But anyway, they turned it into you could get a room there. They had a few rooms, but everybody else camped. And which used to be a really big thing with BMW riders. They like to do big rallies where everybody comes and camps. They don't do hotels a lot, but he used to go down there all the time, and we used to go there, and we'd go there and stay or camp or whatever, and go down and then we'd ride down to the races every day And hey, Dave's Disney Dreams, welcome in, buddy. And we'd drive down to watch the motorcycle races at Road Atlanta when they would years ago when they did that. They were there once or twice a year back then. Um, it's a really cool track. I really like when I was growing up and started to get into motorcycles and cars a little bit, but motorcycles mostly. Road Atlanta was sort of this fabled place off to the south of us where they raced motorcycles and cars, sports cars and motorcycles, and it was just like, this place I always wanted to go to. And then later, years later, I started going with Bill. And it's a really neat racetrack. 3 days today, Yahtzee. I wouldn't have thought to say Yahtzee, Ian. That's a good one. Thank you. We hadn't played Yahtzee in years. But yeah, that's cool. 3 days. That's you line up any threes. That's special. I tell people that all the time in chat. If we get more than two Tims, we're it's trouble. Is Road Atlanta dirt? No, Road Atlanta is paved. Right across the road from Road Atlanta, there's what used to be called Gainesville Raceway or something like that, and it was a dirt track. It was an oval, more of a NASCAR track, but it was paved. When I started going, I went there a few times with the race team. They used to go to the Busch Grand National part of NASCAR was still going to small tracks like that around the country for off and on. And we went there two or three times. I flew into there with the team. That's one of them scary places. We went in one time in the middle of a thunderstorm. It was just bad, bad, bad. That was the place where we went, and I turned around the pile. I said, "You know what? Those are trees. We need to pull up." That kind of thing. Anyway, that's beside the point. And I think we always called that Gainesville back then. I can't remember the airport was a county airport. And it was on the mountain or on a mountain, a little higher than everything else at least. Um, and that racetrack, it was that we call Gainesville, was right across the main highway from Road Atlanta, but it was two separate things. Winder Barrel Speedway. Oh, really? So it has changed then? Huh. Interesting. Yeah, and there may even be another one, Rhonda. There may be a dirt track right there. Is that what you're talking about? That's a dirt track. Yeah, there's a bunch of little airports out here. Yeah, there's quite a few airports around the ring of Atlanta, I think. Winder, okay. The track I'm talking about may not even exist anymore. Let me look and see here real quick too. Now you got me wanting to explore a little bit, Rhonda. It's been a few years since I was down there. So okay, there's Gainesville. Where's Brazelton? We stayed in Gainesville a time or two at hotels, and that's when I realized I always grew up thinking Gainesville was where it's now called Michelin Raceway Road and Road Atlanta. Yeah, there's that track. And what I believe that is dirt now. I think they may have converted that track. That's it though, because they used to park. It was interesting to me because you could, if you drove in to watch a race, they had a tiered on both sides. You could just back your car up to the bank and tailgate and put your lawn chairs out and watch the race. Just like you would at Well, who else used to do that? I guess some drive-in movie theaters were that way. Lanier Raceway, that's what it was. Lanier Raceway that I'm talking about. That's what it was, not Gainesville. But it's right across the road from Road Atlanta. That one is. And I wouldn't be too surprised if there's not another one right there close. One of the neatest places I ever went motorcycle wise was a racetrack they built down in Alabama, not too far outside of Birmingham. And they built what has to be one of the finest motorcycle museums in the world. And Phil and I may have talked about that some before, but it's the guy that's created it. His name was John, or I'm not sure about the John part, but his last name was Barber. And there was, I guess, a milk company in that part of Alabama that was quite large, and it was his family dairy and growing up and or whatever. But I guess as he became wealthier, he collected motorcycles, and he had stuff. He had brand new motorcycles from a given number of years, and they were still in the box. They were still in their crates. They'd never been opened up, and so they were like brand new 0-mile motorcycles. And his museum is full of that kind of stuff. And he's got some of the neatest, oldest bikes in the country. Maybe not the oldest bikes, but probably close to it. It's just one of the. If you're a motorcycle enthusiast, everybody has to go see that museum. And it's just amazing. And I believe the town, or that's outside Birmingham, but I think the town is called maybe Leeds, Alabama. Let's see. I can't believe I can't even name that right off the tip of my tongue. Well, it's called Barber. I guess it is called Barber Museum, the Barber Museum. But it's fun. For many, many years, he kept his collection in this old warehouse / garage facility, big, huge, where they used to work on the milk trucks. That's how it had been originally built, and he converted it into a place. And he opened it up a couple of days a week, and people could go there and see the bikes. And that's how it kind of got started. And then it turned into, he put in his money, and he created the whole thing outside of Birmingham because he loved Alabama and loved Birmingham. That's where he grew up, where he lived, and he donated all this land and this racetrack, and as I recall, and maybe part of the museum at some extent to the city or to the state. I'm not sure exactly how that part worked. IndyCar races there now at the track, and he's got some of those kind of race cars in the bottom of the museum now, and he's expanded it since the last time I was there. It just, if you're a motorcycle enthusiast, you have to go there. It's just the finest thing I've ever seen. They do. It's called Barber Vintage Motorsports Museum, and it's called Barber Motorsports Park, the racetrack. It's a really neat track. Some of the riders used to complain it wasn't quite long enough, but it's really cool speedway. But the museum is I went for the races, but also we went down to just tour the museum. It was just it's the finest thing ever. And now let me read and see what's on chat. I don't know a lot about Alabama. Now Talladega's up north of there, northeast of there, Rhonda. I've been there too many years ago, but that's more of a NASCAR area, and but they did race motorcycles there at one time because I've been to a motorcycle event there. I got some kind of drivers updates, important updates available for my PC. I guess I'll have to do that later. Ian says, I missed Tina. The conversation they had organically gone from Disney to old dirt tracks and with a lot in the middle. Yeah, it has, Ian, but that's how things go when you're just freestyling. Caffeine and octanes on near raceways and Brownsville, according to Google. Yep. Dawsonville has Atlanta Motorsports. I think that's where Porsche has their thing. It might be, Rhonda. There's a lot of, this may not be news to anybody, but there's a lot of companies that base their North American or their at least United States operations out of Atlanta. I know Triumph Motorcycles is down there. That's where they were out of. I think Porsche that's where their headquarters may be. Volkswagen, who owns Porsche, is based out of there. I think there's several places like that down there. Go get something put in that. You plug that hole up, Rhonda. Oh. And we probably won't be here a whole lot longer. I just realized it's almost noon. So I have actually managed to talk for 2 hours all by myself. And see, I'm not sure if I'm really talking to people or if I'm just talking to myself, and I think I'm talking to people. Think about that for a minute. Adventures by Dave. Have to get going. Great. You too, Dave. Thanks for coming by, buddy. Always good to see you. Someday when you're up this way, we're going to have to get together and have lunch somewhere. I believe it's Chris, correct? And Brenda and I and you, we ought to do that sometime. I know you do get up this way occasionally, so 2 hours of rambling, you've done it. I have, Ian. Just imagine that. Now, that wouldn't surprise. There's a lot of people that wouldn't really surprise because they've been around me long enough to know that I've got somewhat of the gift of gab. At least I used to. Back then, I could remember things. I guess I'm glad I still remember some things. Anyway, Dave, if you're still out there, Dave, have a great rest of your weekend. We'll be back here again next week, as far as I know. Oh, I don't know. Did John come back, or did he step in and step out? I didn't see him say bye, so I don't know if I missed him or not. Another Dave, were you still here? Let's see what does that make 4? Actually, when Dave, oh, the other Dave came in. I can't get the two Dave's Disney Dreams. Would that make 4 Daves there, Ian? I know it's 3, but that may have been 4 Daves in the room today. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Well, that's what I'm wondering. Maybe it was just 3, but Dave's Disney Adventures just came in, so I was thinking there was another one earlier. Now I'm confused, but we had at least 3. So we had at least 3 Daves in the room today. That's pretty good. But you know what? It's almost always unique. We only have one Ian. Which makes you special. And maybe just one Rhonda. Later, Dave, if you're still here. Oh, okay. Yeah, Rhonda, we were trying to remember, Ian and I were trying to remember how many days we'd had today. We had at least 3 days today in the chat, but I'm thinking there might have been 4, but I have to go back up and look for them. But I know we've certainly had 3. But no, we did have a Doug. Maybe I'm thinking of Doug. I'm scrolling back. I'm scrolling back. Did I mention today? I could have done this. Let me pull up something before you go. Oh, I should have opened up my daughter. One of my daughters got two auctions going today, and I did have. You know what? I did have that pulled up at one time. Yeah, I've still got her. I'll put that link in. I'll just throw her. I'll throw her a bone. If you guys are ever interested in old books or maybe just some old furniture or old glassware, you never know. But she does online auctions, family estate sales, and that kind of thing. Um, and she's got two sales going right now. And my other youngin, I was going to pull that up because I was going to show you where she's at today. They'll both probably. Okay, come on. The Appalachian Renaissance Fair. My computer's a little slow this morning. I'm not sure why. Let me share a screen for a minute. She's at this event. The Appalachian Renaissance Fair of Tennessee. I don't know. I know maybe it's the only one in the Appalachians. I don't know. But hey, Carol, welcome back. Good to see you. You missed it today. I've maintained the whole day of just nothing but rambling and talking. Mark couldn't make it in. He was sick today, and so rather than do the show I wanted to do with him, I've just bored everybody to tears all by myself. But I was just showing a couple of things here. Did I put that in? Yeah, I put Jennifer's auctions in. She's got, and I brought that up today because she's got a sale right now of a household that was actually somebody I knew years ago he retired from TVA about the time I went to work there, but I know more of him, I guess, than knew him. I've met him, but he has some great books for sale. He's got some really old Uncle Remus books, Joel Chandler Harris. He's got some old Mark Twain books. He's got, I mean, these are all things I'm watching and probably won't be able to afford. And what, Brenda, if you're still in here, what's the book that she's got that she's excited because the bidding on it's already high for one of her sales as a rule, but usually when it's this high this early, it's probably going to be going to go for a lot of money, and it's a early first edition. I'm trying to think what it is. I don't want to say too much because there's a couple of books I personally want to buy. Let's see if this is the right page. Oh, no, it's not it. I was going to show the map. The map I thought was kind of interesting that they produced for this. And they got a little bit of a convoluted website here. I struggled getting through it earlier. It's kind of like a maze. That's the thing about Renaissance period time, wasn't it? Mazes. This is it. There's the map. They're going to do jousting and fencing and axe throwing, and they have several stages where they're going to be doing like some live performances of this group. And I don't know, maybe all Renaissance fairs are like this, but I've only been to a couple. But they've got a storyline that they're following throughout the whole event, and I guess during the course of the weekend, they'll act out scene 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, or whatever it is, at different times during the weekend until they get to the end of the story. And somewhere on their website, they've actually got some of that already laid out. You know what each scene, I think they refer to them as scenes, is about. And they've been doing this for several years, so they've got some from previous years. She's not home yet. Just wanted to say a quick hi. Well, thanks for stopping in, Carol. I appreciate that. Yep, 2 hours of talking to myself. I wish our Renfest wasn't in the summer. Oh, you know what, Rhonda? The last time Brenda and I went to a Renfest, I believe it was in the summer, and it was down south of Nashville, and it was, oh my Lord, was it hot? As I recall, anyway, it was very hot. This is actually would be a good time to go to a Renfest. I mean, cooler weather, and I would think the people who are there who often dress in you know, suits of armor and other period dress of the time, and it can be quite warm. And so I don't know about. They had a little bit of rain overnight. I'm hoping it wasn't, but it's dried out since then. I know Kelly was a little bit concerned about the ground, about it being muddy in some areas, but where she was at, she sent me a picture of it last night where she was going to be. Didn't look like it would be too bad. I mean, it was more grass. There wasn't any bare earth. Let's see, Tales from the Ferry Crossing. This may be where the skit, yeah, here it is. This is the episodes. That's how, not scenes, episodes. So there's episode 1 and 2, and they go all the way down through 6. Child of the Crown, Duchess Fraser, receives a mysterious news from Scotland and finds out there is more to the suitor for Lady Maggie's hand than they know. Lady Maggie discusses the prospect of marriage with her handmaids. Anyway, that's kind of interesting that they're going to do that. So that's where Kelly is. We've talked about going and whether or not we would be able to get around good down there and walk around. That's, I guess, what worries me. I would love to go see it. I'd love to go. We hadn't been to one in forever, and I'd love to go down and support Kelly. But that's one reason why I posted Jen's auctions. I figured if I was gonna mention one, I should probably mention the other today. But Jen's auctions are. I haven't even made it all the way through the first one yet. I was started last night and was a couple of minutes late today because I was looking at some books that she's got. And I know one of the books she has was written by Kermit Roosevelt, who was one of Theodore Roosevelt's sons. And he traveled with his father in Africa and South America some. So I'm really interested in that particular book. And it's autographed by Kermit. So would really like to get my hands on that book to put back here in my collection. Yes, it is, Rhonda. It's very hard to wear the proper costumes and attire in Georgia and in the South period in the summertime because most of it is very hot. So it's tough. So I figured that was a good thing for this weekend. This was to me is a good time to have a Renfest. The teddy bear namesake had a kid named Kermit. Oh, he loves Kermit. Yeah, how about that? The teddy bear guy had a son that was, might be somehow akin to the frog guy. Kermit the Frog. Yeah, his son Kermit went with him on the trip where Teddy Roosevelt went down what they was known then as the River of No Return. Really good book about that. And I don't know, Kermit might have wrote that book now that I think about it. Or he and his father, because Teddy wrote several books, which I have also, some of. But Theodore, the former president, just about didn't make it home from that one. It got really bad. He got really ill. He got injured. Seems like he got injured and it got infected. I think it's been a while since I read the book, but anyway, Kermit helped drag him out of the jungles, And it's a really interesting book because it to me it took me back to the time period when I realized just how unexplored a lot of that country in South America is. And some of it's still that way. Well, except for I mean, outside of the natives who live there, some of which have only recently ever seen a white person, or someone that wasn't from their tribe or their family. So it's a pretty good book. They had hoped to. I know part of the story is they had hoped to be able to survive, to carry enough supplies to make the trip. They'd hoped they'd get to a point where they could live off the land a little bit, and that turned out not to be the case. They learned that jungles oftentimes can be deserts on the floor because there's everything's in the canopy. There's nothing on the ground. Nothing grows. I mean, not much grows because it's all shaded out. Anyway, interesting book. If you're ever interested, I can give you the name. But I think pretty sure that's the River of No Return. I believe that is the name of that book. I can't remember the one that's she's got for sale, but I'm sure you guys aren't going to go in there and try to get my book, so I'll name it. I mean, I'll look at it and I'll figure out what it was again. Um, Roosevelt, The Long Trail by Kermit. That's the name of it. I've never heard of that one, so that's a new one on me, and I'm really excited about it. I hope nobody else wants it. Since most people have never heard of Kermit Roosevelt, I'm hoping that keeps people from being interested. Listen to me sounding like I mean, the more money she gets for it, the better it is for my daughter. But I even if it's my daughter selling the book, I'm always looking for a bargain. They have got. I knew, like I said, I knew the guy, and I'm not surprised. He's got quite the eclectic, or had quite the eclectic. I can almost see this being my life after I'm gone. Her trying to sell off all my stuff. She's got several first edition, like Jack London first edition. Oh, that's the one that she was excited about. She's got a first edition Jack London Call of the Wild. And let me see if that's auto signed. I'm not sure if that's signed by him or not. But that one is up to $160 already. And which may not sound like a lot, but by the time it gets to the end of the sale next week, it could be a lot. Or at least for her. She's been doing this now for a couple of years, babe, on her own. If you're in here, on her own. Okay, Ian, thank you for not getting my book. I was mostly being silly. I didn't think anybody would. But then again, I don't know. Somebody else in here might be as goofy about books as I am. I was just looking. She's also got a couple of bookcases. I'd like to swap out some of these old homemade bookshelves for some a little bit better ones, but I'm trying to figure out where I can put stuff because I've got a lot in my room here, and I'm gonna have to move some stuff around. I've got a couch over here that you guys can't really. You can see the end of it right here. It's a nice leather couch, perfect for sleeping on and taking naps, but it does take up a lot of room. So it's possible that it may have to go away, and I might just have to replace it with a couple of easy chairs to read in or something. Something I can put my feet up in and read and lean back and take a nap if I choose to. But we'll see. We'll see. I know I'm quite sure every time I buy something new, the girls are rolling their eyes thinking, oh, that's something else we're going to have to help mom take care of. I guess that's one fault of having a daughter that's in the auction business. She knows what it's like to deal with estate auctions. So she kind of knows what's in store, which I'm trying to make her list and inventory some of this stuff so she knows what she's got when it happens, when it's all too late. And that's all I'm going to say about that because I really don't have that. I don't know. I've got some stuff that I hopefully will be worth something to them, but probably isn't worth anything to most people. So that's the good part. Well, guys, I guess I should shut up. Rhonda, I didn't want. I'm actually, since you went and got a cup of coffee, I'd be more than willing to sit here and talk a little bit longer until you get through drinking your coffee, at least. And if you happen to be eating a honey bun or a donut with that, I'd stay here long enough for that, especially if you tell us about it, if it's a good donut. Um, but I don't know. I'm a small crew, and Ian stuck with me the whole time. I'm going to send you a check or something just for. I don't want everybody to know that, I had to pay you to stay in here or something. But ooh, she had like honey buns. They have a weird texture. Well, that's an interesting. To me, they're just like donuts, but maybe there's something I don't know about the honey buns you eat or have eaten. Most of the donuts where I grew up were just kind of like donuts, but didn't have a hole in the middle. Oh, she wants to like them, but well, I probably like them too well. That's probably my trouble. Honey buns, donuts, I could probably eat them just about every day, but I don't. Thank goodness. I'd be big as a house. I've had a lot of work. Your draw has been calming. Well, thank you, Ian. Well, good. I'm glad I'm helpful. I'm in some way. I'm doing a good deed today by being calming. I don't. I don't think of my draw as being such. I don't like soggy bread, and they seem like soggy bread. Well, yeah. I guess maybe somebody I know. I'm trying to think which one of our friends. One of our friends, or maybe it's one of Brenda's friends. Maybe it's her friend that teaches school in Atlanta. Has her own school, the outdoor school. Um, Maybe she's the one. She cannot stand bread that's been in any way soggy, so she won't eat like gravy, biscuits and gravy. Not gonna happen. Um, that kind of food, she just will not touch it. Uh, and I don't know why. Honey buns, monkey bread. Oh yeah, monkey bread, which is something not. It's not monkey bread, but that's one of the things I want to get to Dollywood for soon because they sell these loaves of cinnamon. They sell these cinnamon bread loaves. I think that's what they call them. I'm trying to think of another word, but I guess it's just cinnamon bread that looks like it would just be to die for. And everybody I know that's ever been there and had it says it's really good. So I've got to get down there and try that. And we've never, well, we might have had some years ago, but I don't. It's been so long, I don't remember. I love coffee bread or a crumb cake and that kind of stuff. What do they call that? Coffee cakes, I guess. Brenda's not that crazy about them, but I like them. I'm okay with biscuits and gravy or bread dipped in brown gravy, but it has to be fresh and not mushy. Well, we can respect that, Rhonda. Oh, I love biscuits and gravy too. In fact, I told Brenda last night that I might get up and make some today, but I didn't. I got up, made coffee, and came up here. So, but tomorrow it could happen. She made up a bunch. She made some like quiches or uh, what do you call them? They're kind of like muffins, but they're made with egg and sausage and chopped up red peppers and stuff like that, and cheese, and she baked them in the oven, and they're handy to heat up and eat. I mean, it's sort of like an omelet in a muffin in a way, I guess. And there's probably some name for them somewhere, but she had extra sausage, and so told her to keep it, and I'd see if I couldn't make up some gravy with it. I'm not sure it may not have enough. Um, there may not be enough fat in it actually to make good gravy. I don't know. Man, I thought I had a bug bite there for a minute. I guess not. You mean corned beef gravy, John? That's what John's saying. SOS. Oh, I love SOS, John. Well, I think SOS, Rhonda, can be several things. I've never had it with corned beef. That may be what it was. For all I know, that may be the original SOS. But Brenda, we just made it last night. She cooked some steaks. Uh, they're like little round steaks, and we like to cook them in a crock pot or cook them in the. Last night she did them in the oven, low and slow, and a long time bake or cook, and they just get so tender and they fall apart in your mouth in gravy. I love that on biscuits or toast. Oh, that makes making me hungry right now. My dad called it SOS, and Mom yelled at him for cursing. I know several different ways to make that, um, and I guess you could do corned beef. I don't know. I've never tried that. My mom made the gravy cheesy, and we had it over mashed potatoes. Oh, that'd be good too. I mean, you had me with cheesy and mashed potatoes there. I used to tell people a long time ago that I wasn't sure, but I didn't think I'd ever made a potato I didn't like. It may not be true, but I can't remember any right now. Everyone wants my meatloaf, and I make it in a crock pot. Really, John, I've never had meatloaf out of a crock pot, I don't think. Now, see, I challenge that because my wife makes meatloaf that I dearly love, and it's part of it at least is my mom's recipe that she learned to make, but Brenda learned to make it for the kids at the daycare and at the school she worked at years ago. And what my mom made was the topping. That might be the only thing that makes it special as far as my mom's concerned is the topping made out of ketchup and mustard and brown sugar and whatever else. And she used to have teachers that would come to her and say, you know what? I never had meatloaf that I liked. I hated meatloaf until I ate yours. And now it's all, yeah. Well, you have to be careful about that, John. That's a good point. But she does make hers in an oven, but it doesn't get dry. Oh, well, not unless she forgets and leaves it in there. So we may have to do a meatloaf challenge someday. We'll just have to see. I'd love to try yours, though. I'm quite sure I've know of you cooking quite a bit over the last few years since I've known you, so I'm convinced that it would be good. But see, I can't say hers isn't because I live here, and I'd like to keep living here. I don't use any tomato or ketchup, just homemade brown gravy. Well, see, that makes it different. We're not a we. I can't say this because well, Rhonda's from Ohio though originally, right? So yeah, we're almost at the borderline of the brown gravy. I think if we did a what do they call eating oh what's the word I'm looking for? If we did a study, I think we'd find everything below Kentucky goes away from brown gravy a little bit and goes into something else like barbecue sauce or white gravy. I mean, I grew up eating white gravy, milk gravy, whatever you want to call it. Do it easy, stick to fast food. Well, that can work, Dave. And in a pinch, I've eaten a lot of biscuits and gravy from Hardee's and even McDonald's. Sometimes it's pretty tasty. I don't remember how Mom made it. I cheat and buy the Stouffer's. But yeah, there's a point where like brown gravy, there's several dishes in Kentucky that are famous for brown gravy with brown gravy. But once you get down here, that's not a thing. And it, like I said, it turns over to red eye gravy or white gravy top. And that's all I knew growing up. That's the only thing my mom ever made. She made biscuits and gravy, or she made gravy with chicken or whatever we had. And it was milk. I call it white gravy. I mean, it's milk gravy made with drippings and flour and milk to thicken it or thin it, whatever. I miss open faced roast beef. Can't find it down here. Oh, I do. Oh, that me too, Rhonda. I love that. SOS. Yes, I knew what it was. I've always liked what we've called it. I mean, what we've made is with chipped beef and different ways, because I guess I'm just a gravy and bread kind of guy. All right, Tim, this is my stop. It's been fun. Well, Ian, I appreciate you for riding with us today, buddy. You've been a good rider. You've kept me busy, kept me awake the whole time. So we'll see you again soon, I hope. And take care and honestly, thank you, thank all of you for being here. I mean, today's had to been rough. Been I've been trying to support the whole thing by myself, and I think I've bored myself at times. So, but it's been good. I probably need to close things out, and I could sit here and chat with people all day long, and I don't have anything else planned for the day unless we do go to the Renfest, which we're not planning on, and we might go tomorrow if we were going to go because we'd have more time. But squirrel chats can be fun, and I had a special squirrel trivia thing for today's show, and I'm going to save that too. Um, it's a good one. I think if you've been in my chats, if you spend enough time in my chats, the subject matter will be familiar. I think, but different with a twist. Let me put it that way, with a twist. So anyway, John, again, happy birthday, buddy. Rhonda, thanks for coming in. Dave, whatever Daves are left, um, Dave's Disney Dreams. Thank you very much. Um, yeah, Dave, we do a lot of squirrel talks here. And that's a euphemism for getting off track and, kind of like, chasing something down the rabbit hole or getting sidetracked or getting on a different subject. So, but that's a squirrel for us. So, and squirrels are kind of special because Mark and I both love to squirrel hunt. So we kind of have built that into our chats. And for us, it's fun. It may not be for anybody else. Anyway, thanks for being here, guys. Again, thanks for hanging in here with me. Next week, we'll probably be back on track, and more people will probably be back from vacation and other things. And so I look forward to that. And we'll see y'all then, guys. Take care. Please have a good rest of your weekend, and we'll see you real soon. Bye bye.